Hey everybody, it's Jim from the 312 Workshop. I hope everybody's having a good day out there. I've got half a dozen extra cedar pickets. And because of the time of year, we're starting to think about gardening and things like that. I'm going to build a cedar planter. Now, I know there's hundreds of videos about building cedar planters, and I'll be honest, there's some really good ones out there, but several of them tend to be, I can build it in three pickets, with three pickets, to sell. You cut your margins down and you can sell them and this and this and this. That isn't really what I want to do. I've got a nursery pot that I want to put in them to more or less line them. And so I need to build them to a specific size. So I've drawn up a rough idea of a plan, and we're going to get started now. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take these 6 and we're going to rip them down to 5 inches. Okay, I've done some ripping. There'll be more to do later. But I need 6 pieces 15 3/4 and 6 pieces 14 1/2 for the sidewalls. I've already got a stop block set up for 15 3/4. We'll start cutting. Now, I've got some pieces ripped down for the legs, 2 inches and 1 3/8. You see on my plans, I was debating 19 1/2 or 20, and I've decided we're going to go with 20. So I need 4 pieces of both for the legs that will wrap the corners. Okay, we're going to do a little assembly here. I have 3 of the 15 3/4 boards, and then I have the narrow side pieces, 1 3/8. A little bit of Type Bond 3 and some 1-inch brads. You do want to be easy on the amount of glue you're using. The first one's always a little tricky. Ta-da! Okay, and now we'll put the wide piece on the top. And again, you want to be a little careful. I'm not sure. I'm thinking about putting tung oil on these. It'll keep them somewhat protected. That's up to you guys. And of course, cedar pickets wander all over the place. Watch the thumbs. Yeah, I know there are thousands of these videos out there, or cedar planters of some sort. And I know we're not supposed to date these things. With the price of things, my wife and I have decided we are going full in on a garden this year. It's been several years since I've had one, but it's time. By the way, I just happen to have Porter cable 1-inch brads that are galvanized. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Will you look at that? Boom. Now, for the hard part, and that is setting these up like this and putting the short boards in. Run a bead of glue and go from there. And I have dripped some glue on the inside, but luckily it's the inside. We're getting there bit by bit. There we go. And now I've got my 4 angled pieces for the top. I brought out my baby miter saw because there's no way I could fit a full-blown miter saw in here. And honestly, switching the radial arm from 45 to 90 isn't always accurate enough. Not that these need to be perfect. Okay, now I did find something out. I measured inside on the 14.5 side. The 15 3/4 side is just a little long. And I think it'll work for what it is. And again, I'm not making these to sell. I'm making these for myself. And this is a prototype. So I am just going to edge this in just a hair. Not the best, but it'll work. It's not perfect. Like I said, it's a prototype. Okay, I have solved how to support the plant pot in here. I'm going to put cleats on the bottom, on the top, to support 2 boards that will run kind of offset a little bit, and then the pot will rest on that. I think that's going to be the easiest and quickest. I will admit I'm using boards that have sat in the shop for a while. They've cupped, and I am having a little issue putting them together. But one thing I have found out is the consistency and thickness, even across the same board, can be a problem. So I may, again, prototype, I may look at, actually have a source of 3/4 cedar, 1x6, 3/4. Looks like I can get it in 8-foot and 10-foot lengths. So I may go down that path. I'm not 100% sure. A lot more expensive, but again, I'm not trying to sell these. I'm making them for myself. So anyway, okay, I've got my cleats installed, and you see I can run these across. That'll give it good support. It will change the height of the pot that I'm putting in it. I did want to show you, just so you guys can see, and hopefully you can see. That's the pot I'm looking at buying on Amazon. It's 14.1 by 14.1 by 14.56 high. But now I'm going to rip probably a 2-inch board for here, for around the perimeter. And then these, I think, we're going to be 1 3/8. I'll double check that. Hang on. No, excuse me. Bottom trim was going to be 1 3/4. And then the cross pieces will be 1 1/8. So I'll get to ripping those next. And now I'm just starting to add the trim around the base. A little bit of glue. Put the piece in. Tack it with a couple brads. There we go. And now we'll start on the Farmhouse X. Okay, as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and do the longest piece first, and then I'll come back in and fit the other pieces. I got to admit, it would be nice to have a, nice big sliding compound miter saw, something that's more accurate than what I think is a 50 to 60-year-old radial arm saw. By the way, if you're wondering, I played around for a while and was able to actually set by mitering one side and aligning this edge here with where these 2 points meet. I was able to use my bevel gauge to roughly, how did I do that? Oh, that's how I did it. Set it here, and I was able to find roughly the accurate cut that I needed. It's a little bit, it's a fraction off, but it's not horrendous. I will admit, I am cutting these a fraction longer and then trimming, coming back and trimming and just kind of sweetening, sweetening the edges just to, 30 seconds off, that kind of thing, just to get them to fit. But I know they're not going to be perfect. Hearing protection is always important. And I know a lot of people would, a lot of woodworkers on YouTube would just, wipe it with their fingers and all that. And well, I'm not that kind of person. I never have understood that. Oh yeah, another thing I can't understand is woodworkers that wear open-toed shoes in the shop. Now, granted, I came from the entertainment industry. Um, Closed-toed shoes, steel toe, reinforced arch was, if you didn't have that, they threw you off stage. They said go home and get something, or you didn't get paid and they just sent you home. On those kinds of work calls, that's just the way it was. You had to have the safety equipment. I don't know, you guys out there to do woodworking with open-toed shoes, what, you've never dropped a hammer on your foot? You've never dropped a 2x4? I'm sorry, a 2x4 from 4 feet in the air can break a toe. And don't think it can't, because it can. And trust me, it hurts like a mother. Well, all right, that side is done. Now, how to do the other side. And that does take its time. We know this one's too short. The angles are right for what I want, but I have a slight angle here. It's not a 90. So I'm going to have to finesse every piece, which is okay. So what I've done is the piece that's here, I went ahead and cut that long. And then as I put it up here and get it almost in place, I will then strike a line here, and I will cut it rich and sneak up on the line, and then it'll fit in. And then I'll do the same thing on the other half and get it in line. It won't be perfect, but it'll be close. Well, wait a minute. There we go. I was like, why was that looking wrong? Anyway, turn it down so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm holding the corner in its place. I'm holding this in line, and I know I have got to cut it along in there. Then I'll take my second bevel gauge, and I also know that the angle's got to go that way. The real trick is to remember to mark the correct side for the angle that the saw is set, so you're not moving the saw all the time. And there we go. Now, give me a second. We'll have some final thoughts. Of course, I am going to brand it, even though it is mine. There we go. Now, the tricky part is always finding a safe place to put this, because it will catch shit on fire. Luckily, my drill press, there we go. My drill press over here has a cast iron base, so I can set it here. And I'm pretty comfortable with it there as it cools, and it'll cool down overnight. Now, move that back a little bit. Let's talk about some things we've learned as we've done this. Fence pickets are great to work with, but sometimes they're inconsistent in their thickness, which makes assembling something like this a little hard. When you're taking into account, additive dimensions of the sides to make this the same as the same depth as this. That can get a little tough. Cupping. There's been a lot of cupping. I think you can see in here. I'll try to get close up. I don't have the actual gimbal, but you can see these boards here have cupped, made it hard to put these in. It'll work. Again, it's not fancy. People will be looking at the flowers in it rather than the container itself. Although they might find that, you know, they might look at the container as a whole. Definitely have to pick a side for presentation. I mean, you can even see here the thickness difference kind of plays around with that a little bit. But not bad. Overall, not bad. Again, this was an experiment. This was a prototype, as it were. You know, a lot of people, Matthew Peach, what's it, Voss the Boss, I think is his channel. You know, they've got good plans. 3 pickets, you can build one 16 by 16 by 16. I wanted one a little bigger. The pot that I plan on buying to put in this is 9.7 gallons. So that's a lot of earth, but it will support it. There should not be a problem. Like I said, things I've learned are having it leaned up in the shop here was not such a great thing for 2 years. It definitely had some issues, but I think it looks okay. Not really sure if I'm going to coat this or if I'm just going to let it gray out. You know, you can coat these with tung oil. That's safe. And of course, I'm putting a pot inside it, a plastic liner, as it were, so you don't have to worry about things leaching. It isn't a bad little project. I am curious. I've got to check this out over the next couple days. I've got to find the guy on Facebook, find out exactly where he is here locally, and talk to him about price of 1x6 cedar. Like I said, his advertised price was like $1.99 a lineal foot. That's a lot of money, but what was in the picture was actual tongue and groove 1x6 cedar for like a sauna. So he does say he has square board. So I need to see, what are they? Are they rough sawn? I think this would look great, not rough sawn, if it was smooth and plain down. But of course, you know, 1/2 inch to 5/8 thickness, I wasn't going to try to plane it. But this will work for a prototype. See what it's about. We'll go from there. I don't think I would bore you with another video making one out of 3/4, but when you make one that's out of 3/4 dimensional and it's consistent, it would change the dimensions on a lot of this stuff. Another thing I would do different is this top piece. I would make sure they came all out of the same board, 1, and 2, I would assemble it first, you know, pin nailing through, gluing, maybe even a clamp to hold it together while the glue sets, you know, 1/2 hour, 45 minutes, and you're good. And then I would put that on the top, because people will notice the 40, you know, the miters that don't match. They won't really notice that your offsets inside are a little different side to side. And again, you know, this is the bottom I went with because of the pot I'm using. I didn't want a solid bottom. To be honest, 6 pickets, I wouldn't have had enough for the bottom. So this is, you know, this is 6 pickets. I have a little bit of waste. Nothing ridiculous, but yeah, I probably have a board foot or two. Board foot, not a lineal foot, but it's close. But they're all tiny pieces, of course. You know, of course, working with fence pickets, you've got to cut the dog ears off for something like this. But well, I hope you've enjoyed this. Like I said, I'm Jim. This is the 312 workshop. This was the prototype. We wanted to see what it was about. If you like what I did, you know, throw a comment up there, hit the like button. I've also got a link. You can buy me a coffee, say a single one-time donation, kind of help the channel going. We're starting there. We're getting there, bit by bit, piece by piece. Still kind of finding my voice. Still kind of finding what I want to do. I'm more of a projects guy. I've done a couple tool reviews, you know, quote unquote, you know, the rigid sander, the drill press table. You know, I might do a few other little things, but I'm not, I don't want to go down that path. There's a lot of other guys doing a lot of good work reviewing tools, and I don't know if I could add that much to the discussion. But anyway, you guys have a good day, good evening, whenever you're watching this. And come see us again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.